For Judge Arthur Blackwell, it was an open and shut case. Just another young man from the wrong side of the tracks, caught in the justice system's relentless grip. He dismissed him, ridiculed him, and aimed to close the proceedings swiftly. Yet, there was a crucial detail he overlooked. The teenager before him wasn't merely there to assert his innocence, he intended to expose the system's inherent corruption. His weapon wasn't legal training, but his own sharp intellect. The air within the Metropolis County Courthouse felt thick, almost suffocating, under the oppressive weight of a sweltering summer day. The public gallery was packed, a low hum of chatter accompanying the unfolding drama. The defense table seemed vast beside the young man, as if the entire legal machinery was poised to consume him. But Leon Maxwell wasn't about to be consumed. He was 19, his hands tucked into his jeans pockets, his chin held just high enough to convey courage, yet not so much as to be confrontational. A quiet self-assurance emanated from him. The charges, grand theft auto and resisting arrest. On paper, they were severe enough to derail his future, but Judge Arthur Blackwell's gaze made it clear the true contention transcended legal statutes. This was a battle of dominance, ego, and bias. Blackwell reclined in his imposing oak chair, his fingers idly drumming against the polished surface. He peered at Leon over the rim of his spectacles, his lips curling into something between a smirk and a sneer. "You fancy yourself a legal prodigy, son?" His voice, dripping with dry amusement, resonated through the courtroom. "This isn't a debating society." A few muffled chuckles rippled through the room. The bailiff, the court reporter, even the seasoned prosecutor, they were all privy to the jest. Leon didn't react. He wasn't amused. He had been preparing for this moment for years, though not precisely this moment. He had never envisioned standing here as a defendant. But he understood the courtroom intimately. While other adolescents memorized sports statistics, he absorbed case law, precedents, and constitutional rights. While his peers indulged in video games, he conducted mock trials in his mind, cross-examining imaginary witnesses and dissecting flawed arguments. His mother, Sarah Maxwell, had served as a paralegal for one of Metropolis's leading criminal defense attorneys for over 2 decades. Leon had grown up listening to her accounts, stories of prosecutors concealing evidence, judges showing favoritism, and a system designed not to uncover truth but simply to finalize cases. He had absorbed every detail like a sponge. By the age of 14, he could analyze a trial better than most law students. But none of that mattered to Judge Blackwell. To him, Leon was just another statistic, another inconvenience to be dealt with. "Let's expedite this," the judge sighed, flipping open the case file. "I have a tea time at 2. I won't be tardy because of this young man." Prosecutor David Sterling rose from his seat with the bearing of a man who had already secured victory. His suit was impeccable, his tie flawlessly knotted. His voice carried the practiced confidence of someone who had delivered the same speech countless times. "Your Honor, the state will unequivocally demonstrate that the defendant, Leon Maxwell, was apprehended red-handed in a stolen vehicle. A 2022 Genesis G80 was reported missing just hours prior to his arrest. Officers pursued him through the city center, where the defendant allegedly attempted to evade capture before being apprehended in an alleyway. His fingerprints were discovered extensively on the steering wheel. The prosecution asserts that the evidence is self-evident, and the case is straightforward." The words landed with considerable impact. On the surface, it all sounded damning. A stolen car, a pursuit, an escape attempt. Judge Blackwell glanced at Leon over his glasses, then turned back to Sterling. "Proceed." The prosecutor approached the jury box. "The defense may attempt to persuade you this was all a misunderstanding, that Mr. Maxwell is simply an unfortunate victim of circumstance. But let's be honest, what kind of victim flees from the police?" The tension in the room intensified. Sterling continued. "Your Honor, I possess the sworn affidavit of Officer Thomas Evans, who personally observed the defendant behind the wheel before he attempted to escape. The vehicle was confirmed stolen. The arrest was executed according to protocol." "Sounds clear-cut to me," Blackwell remarked with a nod. And to most in the room, it was. The case appeared undeniably straightforward. But Leon had spent too many years studying legal proceedings not to perceive the fissures in the seemingly impenetrable wall of evidence. Still, he remained silent, observing, waiting. Judge Blackwell tapped his gavel lightly. "All right, let's hear the defense's rebuttal." All eyes shifted to Leon's attorney, a public defender named Eleanor Vance. The woman had barely uttered a word since the trial commenced. She looked fatigued and overwhelmed. She stood up hesitantly. "Your Honor, my client, Leon gently touched her arm, a silent plea. The attorney paused, surprised. Leon gave her a subtle nod, and she slowly reseated herself. For the first time, Leon spoke. His voice was calm and steady, cutting through the dense courtroom air. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor." The room fell into complete silence. Judge Blackwell stared at him, a look of amusement and disbelief etched on his face. "You'll be what?" Prosecutor Sterling's smirk wavered for a second. Then he let out a sharp, derisive laugh. This should be intriguing. But no one was laughing when Leon stepped away from the defendant's table and walked toward the lectern, because everything was about to shift. Leon allowed the silence to stretch for a moment, just long enough to create discomfort. Then he spoke. "Your Honor, before I commence, I'd like to confirm something with the prosecution." Sterling raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms. "Go ahead, kid." Leon took a slow step forward. "You stated Officer Thomas Evans personally saw me behind the wheel before I was apprehended. Correct?" Sterling exhaled sharply, already bored. "That's accurate. And that testimony is in his sworn report." "Naturally." Leon nodded. He then turned to Judge Blackwell. "Your Honor, I move to dismiss that testimony as evidence." Blackwell squinted at him. "On what grounds?" For the first time, Leon pulled his hands from his pockets and gestured toward the prosecutor's table. "Because Officer Evans never saw me in that car. In fact, he wasn't even on duty when the pursuit began." A flicker of confusion crossed Sterling's face. "What are you talking about?" "Your Honor," Leon continued, "if the court permits, I'd like to submit a formal request to verify Officer Evans's patrol car GPS logs from that night. If his report claims he witnessed me in the vehicle, then his car's location history should correspond. But," he let the word hang in the air, "I have a strong suspicion it won't." The murmurs in the gallery grew louder. Blackwell frowned at Sterling. The prosecutor cleared his throat, his jaw tightening. "Your Honor, this report was filed by a sworn officer of the law. Are we truly going to prioritize the word of a defendant over a trained professional?" Leon gave a casual shrug. "If the officer was where he claimed to be, the GPS data will substantiate it. But if he wasn't, then someone is being untruthful." He allowed the implications to sink in. Blackwell studied him for a prolonged moment, then turned to Sterling. "Does the prosecution have any objection to verifying the officer's GPS logs?" Sterling hesitated. The pause lasted only a second, but it felt like an eternity. The jury noticed it. The gallery noticed it, and most significantly, the judge noticed it. "Fine," Sterling said through gritted teeth. "While we await the GPS records, the fact remains that the defendant's fingerprints were found on the steering wheel of the stolen vehicle." Leon gave a small nod. "That's true, but let's discuss that evidence for a moment." Blackwell gestured for him to continue. Leon turned to the jury. "The prosecution wants you to believe that finding my fingerprints in a car means I stole it. But let's consider this logically. Imagine you walk into a retail store and try on a jacket. You put your hands in the pockets. You zip it up. Then you return it to the rack and exit. A few hours later, someone shoplifts that jacket. Would the fact that your fingerprints are on it mean you were the thief?" A few jurors exchanged glances. The car in question was parked outside a convenience store hours before the alleged theft. "I was inside that store with 3 companions. And yes, when we walked past the car, I leaned against it. I even opened the door because it was already unlocked. It was a momentary lapse of curiosity. But I didn't take the car. I didn't drive it. I didn't steal anything from inside. Does merely touching something make you a criminal?" Sterling cleared his throat, shuffling through his notes, attempting to regain control. But Leon wasn't finished. "And while we're on the subject, let's talk about how that fingerprint analysis was conducted." He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, was the forensic specialist from this case subpoenaed to testify?" Blackwell blinked, caught off guard by the question. He glanced at Sterling. The prosecutor hesitated, then reluctantly said, "No." Leon's lips pressed together. "So, let me be clear. The state is utilizing forensic evidence to attempt to convict me, but they didn't deem it necessary to bring in the actual specialist who processed that evidence. No opportunity for me to cross-examine, inquire about the chain of custody, or challenge the analysis's accuracy." Judge Blackwell pinched the bridge of his nose. It was the expression of a man realizing this case was far from the easy victory he had anticipated. But Leon wasn't done yet, because what he was about to say next would alter everything. He took a slow step forward, his voice steady but resolute. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence an official statement from the vehicle's owner. Blackwell frowned. The owner? Leon nodded. Yes. Mr. Richard Vance, the registered owner of the stolen Genesis, provided a statement to the police. A statement that for some reason was never submitted in the prosecution's filings. And I believe I know why. He turned to Sterling. Do you recall what Mr. Vance told the officers the night his car was reported stolen? Sterling's jaw clenched. Leon didn't wait for him to answer. He pulled a printed transcript from his file and read aloud. I left my car running when I popped into the gas station. Some kid must have jumped in and taken off, but it wasn't the guy you arrested. I saw the kid, and he was Caucasian. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Leon held the paper up. This is from the original police report, the very same report the prosecution conveniently never mentioned. He turned back to the judge. And they expect this jury to believe that I, someone who doesn't even match the description of the actual perpetrator, am guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Sterling scrambled. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. The defendant. I wasn't arrested in possession of the vehicle, Leon cut him off. I was apprehended blocks away from where the vehicle was abandoned, walking home after getting snacks with my friends. I wasn't in the car. I wasn't near the car. The only thing connecting me to this case is shoddy police work and racial profiling. Judge Blackwell let out a slow breath, rubbing his temple. The case was rapidly disintegrating. He looked at Leon, then at the jury. Does the prosecution have anything further? Sterling stood rigidly, his face flushed. No, Your Honor. The judge exhaled. Finally, he leaned forward and uttered the words that would resonate with everyone in that room. Case dismissed. A beat of stunned silence. Then chaos erupted. Leon didn't move. He allowed the moment to settle. Judge Blackwell looked at him, and in his eyes, there was something new, respect, and perhaps even remorse. As Leon reached the door, the judge spoke again. Mr. Maxwell, you should consider legal studies. Leon smirked. He didn't need to consider it. He was already on his way. That day, Leon didn't just win a case. He compelled the system to examine itself. And for once, it faltered. This wasn't solely about one legal battle. It was about all of them. Leon possessed the knowledge to fight back. But what about those who didn't? If this narrative made you reflect, even for a moment, then share it. The justice system is built upon laws, but it's operated by individuals. And individuals can evolve, but only if we compel them to. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and let's keep the conversation going. Because next time, it might not be Leon. It might be someone you know.